Okay, so now it's time for the venture division Otter Tank. We started out this morning with 12 venture division finalists who pitched this morning. There are all their logos up there, and after the judges did their deliberations, we came down to 3: Scoot Science, Heavy Connect, and Valent Power. So we're going to start this with reminding us who the judges are. So our venture division Otter Tank judges are Mr. Bud Colligan, who is founder and CEO of South Swell Ventures, and he's also the co-chair of the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership. We also have Eric Johnson, the founder of, how many of you have been to Eric's Deli Cafe? Right? If you've been there, you've been to his business. He is the founder of Eric's Deli Cafe. 43 years ago, I think he said, earlier today. Mr. Michael Marcus, the founder and managing partner of Marcus Partners, LLC, and advisor to Boston Consulting Group. I want to make sure I got the right consulting group. If I say something like McKinsey and Company, you will not be happy. Mr. Larry Samuels, who's the CEO of Predpol and a very active angel investor, and Mr. Craig Vachon, who does corporate development for Anchor Free Technologies. So they are our venture division Otter Tank judges, and first up we have Heavy Connect. And he brought me a check. A minute. Okay. Shh, shh.
Get started? Okay, thank you for having us. We are Heavy Connect, a mobile platform that allows field teams to collaborate more easily. Enterprise employees who are using Heavy Connect on their existing mobile devices say that we're saving them with our software 3 hours every day. My name is Patrick Zelaya. I've spent my career with John Deere working around the globe in product design, delivery, product support, and managing the sales channel for John Deere.
I'm Jessica Gonzalez. I'm a Salinas native, a staff developer, and a successful partner.
We're backed up by a very focused group of strategic advisors that are specialists in the industry of agriculture, innovation, technology, and legal. Recently, we decided to start a company in Salinas, locally. We wanted to do 2 things. We wanted to create jobs for local software engineering students getting their bachelor's degree so that they didn't have to relocate to the Bay Area after graduation. And 2, we wanted to create software that created better efficiencies so that farm worker employees could get home to have dinner and time with their families. Surprisingly, about a month ago, we launched. We launched because of customer demand, and it's working. It's working because time is a big problem for farmers. Actually, it's the problem. I'm sure everyone's aware of ag tech and the focus of investment on it. Drones, wireless moisture sensors, data analytics platforms, all that require additional time from the farmer. But the farmer doesn't have any extra time. Farming is already a 14-hour-a-day job 6 days a week. So where's this time going to come from? This isn't our opinion that time's a requirement. This is coming from farmers telling us. And actually we're hearing this from the drone companies too in frustration. You see, the majority of a farmer's time is not spent farming. I know that sounds weird, but the majority of their time is spent managing the operation. Farmers spend less time with soil, seed, water, and weather than they do managing people, equipment, and scheduling work. Being local in the Salinas Valley has given us insight into the agriculture and the skills of technology to create a potent combination, and we've solved this problem. Heavy Connect is collaboration software that utilizes existing mobile devices. No extra hardware, no barriers to adoption. Farmers can use their mobile phones, their tablets, laptops, anything, it's omni-channel, to capture the time that's being spent in the operation today unnecessarily. What we do differently than other software companies is that we're about collaboration. Most other software is management, but we open this up to everybody. This is collaboration, this is groupware. Heavy Connect provides something that's similar to an air traffic control tower for the farm, right in your hand, in your own phone. Heavy Connect is broken into modules, like Microsoft Office. This is our time carding module, Timekeeper. Employees can drive from the field directly from their home to the field without having to clock in a physical location. They can use their mobile device. They don't even need a cell connection. It works offline. Crew leaders who are in charge of a busload of harvesters can clock in an entire team, 30, 40, 50 people, all in under 3 seconds. Managers no longer have to collect pieces of paper, transcribe the paper for approval, and then drive them to the home office to turn it into payroll. Payroll doesn't have to do data entry. Everything is available to them in real time. That's Timekeeper. Heavy Connect's equipment tracking module is called Tracker. Equipment operators can do a pre-flight checklist at the beginning of their day, immediately providing information to the managers on where is the equipment and is it ready to work. Employees can see what their schedule is of work for the day, and managers can schedule that work and verify that it's getting done remotely. You see, we leverage mobile devices. The technology available today is already plenty to provide efficiency and time savings to farmers. We use GPS, security for biometrics for security. We use barcode scanners. All of this is available in your pocket today. Agriculture is a $17 trillion a year industry, but let's be fair, we don't have access to that 17 trillion. Let's look at this from a bottom-up approach. If every farmer had Heavy Connect, we would have $22.8 billion in subscriptions a year at 100% market share. We're not going to grow that fast, but it's wide open for us. And Heavy Connect is the great place to start, Salinas is the great place to start because historically it has been the beachhead for all technological advances over the last 30 years. Heavy Connect is software as a service. A freemium model provides a very simple pricing structure for customers. And we love that they self-identify by scaling up through the tiers in kind of a land and expand approach. So 3 weeks ago, we wanted to put our idea to the test. We launched, and the overwhelming response that we got was, well, overwhelming. Not only is this a home run, but we're batting 1,000. Every single customer that we've approached has signed up. So with that support, we're cherry-picking the industry leaders to help us scale and have national adoption. We're not the first ones to attack the problem of making farms more efficient, But we are the first to have the right answer. We know this because customers are signing up with subscriptions. I have a stack of them from the last 2 weeks right here, and Driscoll's on top is the largest berry grower in the world. So, by starting in Salinas, we've created the ability to have software that has a user experience that is intuitive, simple, crosses cultural and language lines. It saves time. And again, we're starting in Salinas. And I know I keep coming back to this because other software companies start in the Midwest in ag tech farming. That's just too much work. There's a reason why Nike makes shoes for Michael Jordan and not for high school students. Sell it to one person and everybody adopts it. Salinas is full of the Michael Jordans of agriculture. And they're going to grow us as we scale eastward and internationally, naturally. It's a waterfall effect with very simple growth. We're fortunate enough to have traction, revenues, right out of the gate. We have a very reasonable rate of growth over the next 5 years. We're going to capture 5% market share of a market subset of the most demanding customers, which will equal 108 million in annual reoccurring revenues. At a 10x valuation, within the first 48 months, we're going to be $1 billion company. The technology's already been created, so now we're going to scale. This summer, we're raising a convertible note seed round for $750,000 with very friendly terms for investors. If you'd like to be involved, we'd love to have you out to give you the specifics and take you around to some of our customers to show you how they use the tool to collaborate. Thank you.
What's the team look like?
So Jessica is the programmer, proven experience in product management. I've been in agriculture my entire life, working and seeing this problem around the world. Nowhere is it more concentrated than here. So we work with the two of us and software engineering students that are local to Salinas. The idea is that this is a double bottom line company so that we create jobs locally. We have 15 right now, and that's just because we've only visited 15 customers.
Can you repeat the questions?
How many people do we have signed up? They're signing up for enterprise subscriptions of 200 profiles, which equate to 3,000 users. One of them was a judge last year, Jamie Strawn. We actually have a check from Growers Express for their subscription this week.
I see a way that this models are matched well to growers in this area, farmers in this area. Growing up on a farm in the Midwest where a lot of the farmers are single person or two people operations, seems to be a lot, and particularly with mechanized harvesting, mechanized planting, alfalfa, soybeans.
Yep, precision farming.
I'm not sure that I see a clean mapping of this kind of an application to a family farmer, a single family farmer, or a person who's farming in the Midwest, land of say less than 1,000 acres.
Absolutely. So there's 2.1 million farms in the United States. 355,000 of those account for 80% of the nation's output. That's our market, the 355,000. We're going to capture 18,000 of those, which is 5% market share. And it's collaboration, so you don't need a dedicated manager. That's what makes this so much better than everything else, is that you don't need a fleet manager, a payroll manager. All of that is done simply through the collaboration software.
What's your current go-to-market? Are you using Salesforce? Are you using web marketing? How are you actually doing?
So it's enterprise sales right now. It's very targeted in who we're going to approach because it's not a scalable approach right out of the gate. Other companies can't follow us, and that's a competitive intention. But we're software as a service so that we don't have to have an enormous sales team. Once we get the right people, the Michael Jordans, everybody's going to want in. And our technology scales today. Hey, bud.
You did I think the company has progressed a lot since last year, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Question I have, I traveled around with Dick Show, for example.
Yeah, Lakeside.
They on the farm at Lakeside, and then one Gonzalez. And, you know, they work very much with their cell phones. You know, they just driving around and say, look at this crop, look at that. And, you know, I don't see Dick Show using his mobile phone with software on it very much. You know, he's kind of old school.
Sure.
Right? I assume there's a lot of farmers like that. Is there barriers to adopt this with the older farmers who, we have a lot of it around here, versus, you know, young farmers who are in their 20s?
Yes. On the surface, there is. But when you get into deep discussions with the Peixotes, like the Amarols was one of our early adopters, and they have the flip phone on a lanyard around their neck. Same thing. But when you get into the discussions and establish the relationship that other companies don't bother to do, they do want to move to that model. And they love that all you have to do is get a cell phone anywhere. You don't need any additional hardware for technology. So yes, that's a superficial problem, but we've proven that it doesn't exist once you have the relationship. We thought we would get more pushback. So we established a whole program of hand-holding, in-person training, laminated quick start guides, English and Spanish, all across the county. They didn't need any of that. They said, we'll take care of it, give us your resources. This is important, let us train them. And we thought, okay, that's one less expense for us. I mean, they're into it. It's not, we don't have to pull them along. They're pushing us. We actually weren't intending to launch last month. They made us.
Was there a beta period? You said you've been in the market for 3 weeks and you got checks, but you're a freemium model. When was the beta period and what kind of results did you get from that? And how can we have checks already if it's a freemium model?
It's free. Well, so we're taking the 15 customers that we approached said, we want to do enterprise with you. That's what we have to offer. We're not going to scale up through the premium model or the freemium model because then it would require investment. We basically came back from Sand Hill Road with empty pockets and we said, farmers, if you want this, you're going to have to pay for it. And they did. Everybody ponied up and said, what do you need? We told them $500 a month, $6,000 a year, prepaid annually. They said, no problem. And if you don't get the customers you need, can you just come back and we'll pay you $7,500? There's no problem with the cost of adoption. And we have ongoing testing. They've also said, like, we want a service support contract with you guys. We said, don't worry about it. That's our product development. We'll be there. You're just not going to get charged for it because that's how we follow an agile development process of continuous iteration.
Right,
Okay.
right now we don't integrate it, so if they want to import it, they will export, but it's still a process right now. They're transcribing for
How hard would it be to build these custom systems? Kind of succeed with that ERP?
It wouldn't be that difficult, I guess it just depends on the system, but probably 2 weeks before.
And that's not us. They have legacy systems of software on disks. So when we call these companies to say we want to integrate to your ERP, to your fleet management software, they said, which customers do you want to integrate to? Because everybody has a different one. Cloud software is so new that we're ready to go with APIs and integration and data transfers that is seamless. No one else is.
Say somebody walked up with a $500,000 check right now, what would you immediately invest that funds?
The tech's done. It's scalable. Customer support, outside sales. Enterprise sales has taken off so well that we want to keep that going because we know that everyone is going to follow, just like the Michael Jordan shoes. We You just have to get the right people. And we're doing that.
Why did you decide on $500? It seems like a low amount
Very.
relative to the number of farmers that are here. And you're going after the big companies. There's only about 20 of those big companies in this valley. So when you go below that, is it a good price point, and could you charge more than you are?
We can definitely charge more. It's a token to have that 500. We actually are sitting in those redlining conference rooms going through the contract, and they're laughing at our pricing. They're saying, you're leaving so much money on the table. We say, that's fine, tell your friends. We need your logo more than we need your money, but we need your money because we're bootstrapping. And so it's very complementary. It works well together, and it validates us because they are paying. And no one else is doing that in ag tech. There's plenty of companies out there, software companies, that are getting lots of investment, and they have no revenues. They're just giving it away. Please use this, please use this. So we think this really sets us apart. Thank you.
Marketing is really, should be the last thing.
Okay, the judges are ready. So next up is science.
Hi, my name is John Lariviere. I'm an oceanographer and I teach up higher. This? Okay. All right, so I teach at, we weren't expecting a mic. So this is, yeah. So I teach at Santa Clara University.
My name is Evan Goodwin, and I'm a development engineer in Scripps Oceanography.
And we're here to tell you about the business we're building. It's called Scoot Science. Scoot is an acronym that stands for Santa Cruz Ocean Observing Team. We are building an ocean observing business where fleets of underwater autonomous vehicles collect data from the interior of the ocean and enable us to provide underwater weather to marine stakeholders. Alright, so the first thing I have to do is kind of show you that this isn't just some esoteric academic plea for more data. This is an actual commercial problem, and it fundamentally comes down to the fact that subsurface ocean data like temperature, salinity, fluorescence, it's critical to marine industries, but it's very, very difficult to collect and very expensive. And this is because the oceans are huge, and they're dangerous, and they're constantly changing. The result is that we have gaps in our ocean observations. So here's a map showing, I'm from Santa Cruz, so I kind of made it Santa Cruz centric. This is a map showing Santa Cruz up to San Francisco Bay, and the yellow dots show our buoys from NOAA. So the buoys are like the eyes and ears that we have on the ocean, and then these big purple circles are showing gaps in our understanding of what's going on. The gaps that we have in our observations result in problems like over $4 billion a year of lost sales in the fisheries industry because people are catching the wrong fish. If you catch the wrong fish, the whole swaths of the ocean are shut down to everyone. The gaps in our observations actually are also resulting in a lack of, on the research side of things, practical forecasting coming out of ocean modeling. Now, a couple of weeks ago, researchers showed that when they had good data about the surface temperatures of the Pacific, they could predict heat waves in the eastern part of the US and east coast of the US 50 days in advance. That's when they had good surface temperature data. We have very little data about what's going on underneath the surface of the ocean. These observational gaps result in operational downtime. If you're in oil and gas, you have thresholds of currents. You can't drill above certain current strength. And growth industries that we talk about in the midst of climate change and sustainability, such as desalination and aquaculture and renewable energy, are trying to develop in the face of massive uncertainty with respect to site selection, operations planning, and environmental compliance. So this is the status quo, our quick snapshot of the status quo. It's sparse sampling that's really expensive and low resolution with respect to space and time. Now we have, these are kind of, I'd consider these our competitors too. So we have intergovernmental sampling efforts that use a mix of technologies, but really their focus is achieving a global understanding of what's going on in the oceans, not regional oceanography, which is where our marine industries really interact with the water. You can take a ship out, so you take a ship out, lower an instrument cluster into the water, collect data, right? And get really good results, but the low end of taking a regional ship out right now is about $25,000 a day. If you want to go a little farther offshore, you're up into the $50,000 plus per day just for ship time. Right? There are geophysical survey companies that work with oil and gas. They're very focused on the seafloor and what's happening under the seafloor. And we don't have it up here, but we have great snapshots of the ocean from satellites. Satellites give us wonderful coverage in the top, like, this is an exaggeration. They give us that top layer of the ocean, less than a couple of millimeters. So we have a solution, and Evan's going to tell you about it.
So here's our solution. We're going to use a fleet of relatively inexpensive underwater vehicles to monitor the ocean. These vehicles are going to be having sensor suites that will collect physical properties of the ocean, such as temperature and salinity, as well as the currents. Also, they'll be measuring biological and chemical properties of the ocean. These are examples of our sampling grids that we're going to be using to collect regional data. So, how exactly are we going to get the data? So our underwater vehicle is going to be flying up and down through the water column, and when it comes to the surface, it's going to transmit all the data that it's been collecting, each individual profile, back via satellite. We're going to be in our lab receiving that data, and we'll be able to send commands back to the autonomous vehicle and say, hey, this is where you should be changing your location, and we can send it to new waypoints depending on what our mission goals are. Okay. So this is a weather map that everyone looks at every day. This is what you use to inform your decisions for what's happening on land. We're going to provide the underwater weather. So this is actual underwater glider data. So the autonomous underwater vehicle collected this data. in the North Atlantic. Just to orient you with this figure, this is the surface, this is that depth. And just like on the national weather map that I showed before, you can see areas of precipitation. In this case, you're seeing an area of productivity. So whatever sensor suite we have on our vehicle, that's what you'll be seeing. So we can see an elevated blob of productivity right there. This is a quick, just to go quickly over our technology stack. It's pretty overwhelming. At the core of every single one of our operations is going to be prepping these vehicles and deployment and recovery. So with a team of about 2 or 3 people, we can handle 40 of these operations per year, 40 of these individual vehicles. So since they're relatively small, you don't need many people. You can use small ships, small boats, recreational sized boats. It's great. We'll be doing our piloting and data acquisition from land in our lab, and we'll be using data processing scripts that we write to process the data and get it into our web-based server, Stokes, which is an open source piece of code written by the folks at MBARI, the Monterey Bay Research Aquarium Institute, and that'll be the way we distribute our data. The final products that we're going to have are regional dashboards, so it'll give you a quick overview of what's going on in your area. We're also going to provide real-time data that's downloadable, so you can manipulate it yourself. And we'll also have other data products available in ArcGIS that will be used for other geospatial data analysis.
So the bottom of that technology stack shows kind of the deliverables that a customer would interact with on a day-to-day basis. But we think of our business as having 2 main products. The first is Scoot Ocean Services. That is our contracting service or consulting service, and it's really our way to jumpstart running fleets continuously in strategic regions. So we'll start with Scoot Ocean Services, and then Scoot Ocean Data is the underwater weather that we get by running a fleet of gliders in one spot continuously. Our initial target markets are fisheries and research, and I just want to show you that just in the 50 miles of coast that we have here, marine science research is comprised of 24 different facilities with an annual operating budget of $337 million a year. And we have 491 commercial fishing operations in Monterey Bay that have output sales of $42 million a year. So just for us to get started with initial target markets, we have a pretty sizable group of people to gain experience with. Our business model and our go-to-market strategy depends on starting contract operations with Scoot Ocean Services so that we can learn about how people want to interact with the underwater weather. We'll learn from that and then offer the data through a subscription service. We have some financials here, but you can see the important thing is that we can do research contracts per glider at about $1,500 a day, rather than $50,000 a day when you take a ship out. And we can do data subscriptions, we think, at about $1,800 a month. Our long-term plans are to find regions with a confluence of marine industry stakeholders and sell the same data set and underwater weather to lots of different people. We just want to show you a new study came out from NOAA, and the national market of ocean measurement, observation, and forecasting is estimated at $7 billion a year for total industry, and the data crunching of that market is estimated to be $2.5 billion a year, and that's without the data coming back from these autonomous vehicles. Our competitive advantages are numerous, but I think a major one is we'll be first to market for AUV contracting and underwater weather. You're saying stop. Is someone else going to make me stop, or just yourself? All right, yeah, so we have a great team to make this happen, and these are our next steps. I can take questions or keep going. I think you need a bouncer. Yeah.
A lot of dolphin seals and dolphins and other fish tagged today with sensors that are collecting a lot of this data. So you show like 5 drones going back and gliders going back and forth, but there's hundreds of animals that are sending data back on salinity and temperature and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Evan, we'll
Sure, so that's actually happening right now at the Costa Lab at UCSC, and they are tagging elephant seals and other such animals. But you can't control where that animal goes, and you don't know exactly how long it's going to stay at depth or if it's going to stay in the zone that you actually want to be measuring. The nice thing about autonomous underwater vehicles is that you can control where they're going, and you can make it either a transect-based survey, where you're repeating the same area over and over to get good temporal resolution, or you can go feature-based, where you're actively looking at the data as it's coming in and steering your vehicle to go and resample or sample other features that you want to access.
You said you have a huge TAM, $7 billion. Sounds great. Who's buying? Who's spending $7 billion?
The $7 billion is a mix of research, defense. The $7 billion is the market for what's called ocean enterprise. Ocean enterprise is anyone that makes sensors, anyone who's involved in forecasting for ship routing, something like that.
Who's going to be your first 20 subscribers? Who are they?
First 20, can I do first 20 customers? Because that's what we're going to learn. First 20 customers are going to come from researchers in our network. We both went to school at UC Santa Cruz. And it's going to come out of going straight to the program directors at the National Science Foundation, because they have been given a directive from the National Research Council to stop giving massive amounts of money to a few number of labs and start giving less money to lots of labs, and use things like pooled resources and contractors like us. So it'll be the researchers here.
With consulting, when does it move to subscription and you subscribe?
The subscribers for this will be a mix. Can I answer this? So the subscribers, the goal is to make it a mix of marine stakeholders after we learn from the consulting business, from the contract business. Right now, as legislation is going into effect where small watersheds have to manage their runoff and manage their pollution in the water, they're going to be facing the problem of either building and engineering an oceanographic program for their watershed, or subscribing to something like Scoot Science that says, we will just show you the plumes coming off your shore. At the same time, right, you can have marine operators that are drilling, like let's take Santa Barbara for instance. You could be up in Santa Barbara and you can have marine operators looking at the same data set so they don't put people on the rigs when they see that the currents are really strong. Right? It's going to be a mix of pretty much anyone that does anything with the ocean. We want to get this to the point of having them say, let's go see what's going on in the water, even down to recreational users ultimately. Which beach are we going to go to? Where do we have the clearest water? Where is it warm? Do we have an algal bloom before we drive all the way out to the coast? Yeah.
So you acknowledge Liquid Robotics and Lufin as potential competitors, but you seem to indicate that they're not really focused in this domain, or at least on the data aggregation side. That seems not true in terms of Liquid Robotics. They seem to have clearly stated publicly that they're going after this. Maybe the general dynamics backing of Lufin makes them more of a vendor, but they're playing in a lot of different spaces. So.
Do you want to field Liquid Robotics?
Yeah, sure. So Liquid Robotics is great if you're interested in what's going on the surface. But we're offering more than that. We're offering down to depth. You know, depending on which model and unit we're using, you can go down to 1,000 meters. Liquid Robotics is restricted to only the upper tens of meters.
They're kind of like surfboards that float on the water with solar panels, and they say, well, we'll probably use some Liquid Robotics.
That's the thing. Since we're not tied to any specific brand, we can use the best tool for the job.
And the Bluefin, same.
Well, Bluefin, you know.
I'm biased because one of the products I work with every day had a falling out with Bluefin. Yes, they make autonomous underwater vehicles, but most of them are on a larger scale, and those are capable vehicles rather than the energy-efficient vehicles that we're using.
The approximate cost of one of these underwater vehicles, then, if I understand this correctly, you are predicting the weather underneath the surface of the ocean, and as far as directing people where to fish, as far as the fish, it seems to me that part of your pitch could be that sustainability, catching a lot of the lobsters.
Well, yeah, the story of fisheries right now is trying to maximize sustainable yield. So the fish harvesters and fish managers are both trying to keep from collapsing a fishery and not catching bycatch. So it kind of benefits both groups. Yeah.
I'm having a little trouble trying to separate out the consulting business and the data business, because in order for you to capture the data, you have to identify end users and geographies and have many of these fleets producing this data before you get to the first row.
So for the consulting business, it becomes really valuable because we have a chance to learn about the regional oceanography that dictates a lot of your sampling approach. So if we start consulting contracts with people in, let's say, this region now, we can learn how to set up the fleet that will run long-term in this region. We go somewhere else, start consulting with people to learn about the oceanography, and then ramp up the fleet. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Are we on?
Everybody's ready? Ready. Okay. Our next and last is balance power. Valence power.
As in covalent bonds. Hello everyone, I am Corwin Nichols with Valent Power. And my plan is to manufacture and sell the world's best affordable fast EV charger. EV chargers, a fast EV charger is a public charger that a driver of an electric car can drive up and recharge their car, much like a gas car will drive up and fill up with gas. It takes a very few number of minutes, and it's absolutely necessary if you're going to do a long road trip. If there's no infrastructure for fast chargers, then people will rightly understand that electric vehicles are only good for local trips, and it will really inhibit the uptake of electric vehicles. So there have been some headlines made recently. Obviously, Tesla, many people have seen it. The Model 3 is really exceeding expectations. Elon Musk has said they're going to make 1 million vehicles by 2020 a year. And when you combine electric vehicles with green energy, it is really the perfect mix to the perfect antidote to climate change. And while those two things are great, there is a third element missing from the party, and that's how do you put that energy into the car. And right now, public infrastructure, public fast charging infrastructure is very light. There are only 1% of necessary infrastructure currently deployed, and that is deployed on the back of government because it's expensive. Right now, there are 23 states with fewer than fast 10 chargers in the entire state. Here's Kentucky, none. Michigan, Car Central, 8 chargers on there, Detroit. So obviously, there's more chargers in California, but even California is very light in chargers. So the next 99% of the chargers that have to get deployed for electric vehicles cannot be on the back of government because there are too many entrenched players that want to keep the status quo. They want to keep fossil fuels moving. So it has to be a market-driven change that makes this work. And in order to get a market-driven change, just as solar panels have shown us, if you have a product that's priced right, people will buy it without government support. And the reason that there's a problem now is that the current chargers are really quite expensive to install, around an average price of about 50 grand. And that's because they require utility services that aren't very commonly available, a lot of labor to put in one. They only charge one car at a time. It's $50,000 to charge one car. It can be expensive to operate if there's utility demand fees, so it's just the return on investment. Why would someone spend so much money when they will never make it back from people using those chargers? They're never going to go. So what I've been working on for 3 years is the Quick E-Charger. That is an actual picture of the unit out behind my building, and it is a fast charger. Some of the unique features, it charges 2 cars at once. This is an industry first. Unbelievably, it is an industry first. Uses any power source that the utility gets to you, even off of batteries, which is something that's important for mitigating demand fees. Easy to install, and the average install cost is 1/3 compared to current products in the market. And for an owner that has a charger installed, their return on their capital investment is a little over 2 years. Hello. Owners that do install these chargers, a business that puts it in, a charger is also a good pull-in for their existing business. So, for example, the Whole Foods in Santa Cruz has a fast charger. I use that fast charger, and I'll tell you, every time I fast charge at Whole Foods, I go into Whole Foods. I buy a little something in Whole Foods. So a fast charger in a business premise is a good pull-in for their existing business. The secret sauce behind my fast charger, why does no one else have this solution? Why is mine so much better than anyone else? Well, I'll tell you, it's been incredibly difficult to design a product that meets the requirements of fast charging cars, which means you have to be really safe. It's 400 volts going into the car. It has to pass all kinds of tests, and it has to work in the heat of this Phoenix sun on a black parking lot. It has to survive Minnesota winter. It has to take lightning strikes and power line sags, all of that, and it has to be cheap to manufacture. And that was my goal, is to make it inexpensive to manufacture. And I have done that. It's taken me 3 years. If I'd have known it was going to take 3 years, I probably wouldn't have started this project. But it's taken 3 years, and I've spent about $900,000 on it, and I've managed to do it. I've gotten the cost of goods down to $4,500, and that's way below competitive product. So I got some key technologies filed with the patent office. And could someone else build the same product? Yes, they could, but it would take them a very long time, and by the time they do it, I'm going to be on my 2nd generation product. Sorry about that. Hello. Okay. The future direction for me, beyond just a standard fast charger that plugs into the utility, my next product is going to be a solar-powered fast charger, which combines solar panels, stationary battery packs, and the grid. Combines all three. When you charge your car, it's pulling power from all 3 of those sources potentially at the same moment. If no car is being charged, the solar is used to recharge the batteries or feed power back to the grid. Next year, they anticipate the charging standards for cars is going to get larger. Bigger batteries are in cars. They're going to go to 150 kilowatts for the next generation of standards. I'll have a 150 kilowatt device. I may have a smaller model for home users, but uncertain yet. The market for fast charging is the market for charging is about a $5 billion market estimated by 2022, and we will need about 100,000 additional fast chargers in the U.S. within the next 5 years to support all the new electric vehicles. About 300,000 fast chargers worldwide in that same time period. So what I'm looking for right now is about $500,000 as a convertible note. And that's going to get me through safety testing. My product is ready to go for safety testing. And a 40-unit build. I have one investor already lined up. And in about 9 months, I'll need $1 million in a Series A round for production ramping. So that should represent about 25% of the value of the business. And I plan to grow the business, to demonstrate product and company viability. And I will seek a partnership either as a joint venture or licensing arrangement with another bigger business to help me manufacture and grow the business. I'm estimating profitable by the end of 2018. And my business model is to make money selling chargers. Because I have such a low cost of goods, I can sell the product with an easy 50-point margin. And the service contracts and networking fees will are recurring annually, and as time goes on, that actually becomes a larger share of my revenue. The 800-pound gorilla in the industry today, ChargePoint, that is their model. They make money on service contracts and networking fees only. Some quick number forecasts. I think the important one to look at is the lower left, the gross profit, where you're seeing in 2019 an increasing share of recurring profit from, that's again, service contracts and networking fees. And then in the net profit over here, that's the net before taxes of showing about 2.1 million by 2019 of profit. My initial customers I've identified are these. I've been in conversation with every single entity that you see right here. Again, the important one is ChargePoint. They are the big player. They have a home office in Campbell. I know the players pretty well. If I do a deal with ChargePoint, they will take my entire production for 2017. And then there's General Motors, a nice little company you probably all know of. If I do a deal with General Motors, they could consume my entire production for the first 3 years. So these are companies that are all on the wagon for electric vehicles. Been 3 years in development. I've invested about 900,000, 2 patents filed. I have a demo unit, 30 production units to sell this in Q4. My development team, myself, I've been running a high-tech equipment manufacturing business for over 20 years. I have a lot of experience running that kind of a capital equipment business. 3 people right here I've worked with for quite a long time, very smart people, a lot of experience in their respective industries. And I'm not just R&D folks, I actually have an office in Scotts Valley with 10,000 square feet, half of which is manufacturing. It is fully staffed right now with sales, materials planning, production people, shipping and receiving, and it's ready to move into electric vehicle charging. And I'm planning to add these folks in the early part of 2017. And on my advisory board, Richard Lowenthal, founder and CEO of ChargePoint, key person on my advisory board. He's gotten me in to see all the right people at ChargePoint. And there's my competitors. I'll leave you with this summary P&L if you want to look at that and ask questions. Sorry.
I guess an obvious question is the Tesla network of chargers. If a lot of the vehicles out there, Teslas initially, I know Ford and others are doing vehicles as well. How does your network, will that be competitive with it? Will it be alongside?
Well, it'll be alongside. It'll be compatible. And Elon Musk obviously is drinking the same Kool-Aid that I'm drinking right now because he sees the value of deploying these charging stations on the major corridors because that's absolutely required to get people to accept his cars. And the charging network that I'll provide will be for everyone who's not a Tesla. Tesla uses their own proprietary charging standards, so people that have Nissans and Chevys and BMWs, they can't use the Tesla network, they'll be using my network. There are 2 standards. There's the Japanese standard that a number of people use, and then there's the US European standard that those companies are using, and then there's Tesla, which is proprietary. So my charger supports the 2 standards, not Tesla. And the Tesla cars can use my charger, but not vice versa. Well, it does seem like it, but no one has to date. There's no product at the price point I'm coming into it. There's no product with my feature set. Could someone else come in? They could, but it will take them a long time to get there. They buy them from third parties. They buy them from a company like me. I'm hoping to be a great vendor to them. They buy chargers at a $25,000 price point right now. They'll be buying my chargers in the $12,000 to $14,000 price point when I have that ready to go. And my charger does 2 cars at once. No one else will do that. There are some significant advantages to my product.
charges Nissan has in it, 13,000.
Right, the Nissan Charger is only supports the Nissan car. People are reluctant to put in a charger that only supports the one standard. They like to have both standards in there. To address the 480, 240 volt, I'm not exactly sure what your question is there, but the charger I have, when it's installed and you're wired up, you can wire it to whatever's there. If it's 208 or 480.
But your output is 480.
The output's 400 DC, so the charger converts that from AC to DC.
And my question is about the complexity between not having 480 feed.
No, if you have a lower voltage speed, you have bigger wires going to it. That's really the only difference.
Raising money, you mentioned charge point and why don't you do a big PSN?
Well,
have them prepay it and provide you with a lot of capital, but don't really put it.
Loan 100% of the
well, I think that there's a lot of people waiting to see something. They'd like to see something, and I think if I had a proven product in the market, my leverage is just stronger. Right now, I don't have much leverage to do a deal with them, and I think my leverage would be much greater if I had a product. And I have the product done. I just need to get it safety tested, and I can give them the demos.
So you have a product installed, and see that they have the right people to evaluate whether that's a good product at this stage. It's already working.
Well, that's true, but they want to see that product pass safety. It's wonderful. They could come in and take a look at it and say, yeah, it does everything you say it does, but if it hasn't passed safety, they can't take it themselves. I can't ship it to them. It's not a product until it's past safety. I have to get it to safety. That's essential. I do have room to expand. I'm not planning on doing a lot of manufacturing in Scotts Valley. I plan to build the first 100 to 150 units in my facility. From 150 up to about 1,000, I'll use turnkey facility builders in the Bay Area. And once it gets above 1,000 a year, I'll probably create a new dedicated manufacturing facility myself for those. But I have plenty of room in my existing building to build up to 150 units. It's about 500,000. The testing is 100,000. That's at UL. That's a $100,000 price tag. They play cards. I do have another business. Yeah, I've been running this other business for about 30 years, and it's a business in its twilight, and they're still mostly busy, but there's kind of room in their schedule to do more stuff. So they're there. They're rooting for me. Well, the plugs are different, but my unit does work with both. There's two cords on it, and there's two connectors. Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you. Nice job. All right. So that brings us to the end of our Otter tanks. Let me pull this back up. That was Valent Power. Back to the blank slide. And so now next step, I'm going to ask the judges to go and move over to room 111 and do their deliberations. I do think we should finish with a big hand for all the 5 businesses that we're going to do. Really, really nice job. Now, we're back to crowd favorite again, but we got the URLs, so I'm going to put the corrected URLs up there so that you can do your voting. So give me half a second to do that.